And we're live. Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone. It's Ken and Kathy Cushman. We're here with you today, live, talking about what really matters.
Yes, tonight or this afternoon, we have a guest that's going to be sharing with us. A great friend and graduate, Alina Serrano. We're just waiting for her to get on.
I am so excited about having Alina here. She has a nonprofit organization that supports young women, and I am excited to hear about it and have her share with you about it and see what ways we can support her and how she supports young women. So I'm really excited about it and looking forward to it.
Cool. So Alina, we've have known for a number of years now. I can't even remember how far back it goes, but at least 12 years, I think, somewhere about 12 years. And where she was one of our coaches in our leadership programs and really made a big difference as she came through the program. And really excited to have her here today. So let's bring in Alina.
Yay!
Hey, welcome.
Oh, we need our headphones on.
Oh,
too.
hang on one second, yeah, because it's going to get ugly if we don't.
Yeah.
If we don't.
We'll have a hard time hearing.
You'll have lots of feedback.
Yes.
Always forget that.
Yeah, me too.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you both.
And
Okay,
the feedback is gone?
Feedback is gone.
Okay, cool.
Wonderful.
So, Alina, we did do a great job introducing you. Just tell us about you and how you got started on this journey, and
Okay.
go from there.
Okay, so I'm Alina Serrano. I'm Puerto Rican born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I'm 41 years old now. I'm a mom to a 9-year-old wonderful boy. And I'm also a licensed clinical social worker at this current time in New York and in Florida. So that's like my formal introduction. But I will say that how I got started with this work and how I know these two wonderful people is that in 2008, I was a participant in their transformational work. I was about 26-ish year old, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into it.
But we're so glad that you did.
Yes.
But I knew that there was magic there, and I had really what I like to call destiny helpers along the way. So I did the transformational work. I got hooked on it, and I continued to work within coaching companies similar to Kathy and Ken's throughout the year, doing self-help work, all that good stuff. And then I came back to Kathy and Ken, of course, since they've been hashing out the online transformational work. So that's how I know them. I've met wonderful people that to this day are still my coaches, right? I have probably 6 or 7 people in my team that are like soulmates in my journey. They do speak into, what they're speaking into is my nonprofit called Yes Sister Friend. We started in 2012 in Miami, Florida. And we started girls meeting up, right? We are now a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization since 2020, but it took a while to get there. Let me give you a little bit of history about Yes Sister Friend. Like I said, summer of 2012, I do hear some feedback. Some like, yeah, some feedback, but not too much. So I was what's called a care coordinator, a very fancy word for case manager, youth mentor in Miami, Florida, for the population of young people who identified as LGBTQ+. And what I saw and I experienced was that there was many spaces for co-ed, meaning boys and girls, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, they would have this space. But what was happening, or what I observed, was that there was no spaces, very rare, for just female body. Or when I say femme, girl, woman identified, I mean the brain, the heart, that coincides with the body. We didn't have space. So the young girls were limited in speaking, expressing themselves fully and knowing themselves as authentic. They didn't have spaces to talk about their bodies, their brain, their hearts. And when I mean that there was no safe space, I mean that, unfortunately, we live in a world of patriarchy and sexism, and it was trickling in even in that population. So the girls and I was like, well, do you want to meet? I was like, let's just meet. And I saw magic happen. Girls, trans girls, even non-binary young people. And when I mean non-binary is when the person does not identify in our social construct of boy or girl, or man and woman. We said, well, let's just meet. And we started talking about like, how do we feel? We started talking about like how to keep ourselves safe. We started talking about who are we really? And so we started getting spaces to really start cultivating sisterhood, leadership skills, and interpersonal skills. And there was magic. Like girls that would not come out to school were coming out to meet each other on the bus stop, to meet and go around Miami-Dade. And I was like, there's magic here, right? So that was 2012. Throughout 2012 to 2015, I worked on creating these spaces, and I had wonderful other nonprofit organizations, like community organizations within Miami-Dade County that would give me free space. Mm-hmm. And the organization that I worked for at that time, the Alliance for LGBTQ Youth, would provide like the bus cards and resources. So that's how we got started. I want to also say that one of my background, or what makes me who I am, is that I am from a working class family, and I was raised. I came to Brooklyn, New York in 1984. It was riddled with poverty and violence. And so even me, from my small upbringing, I had parents that made sure that they understood that we're bigger than where we are at. Mm. And my mom is very much of a social worker and activist herself.
Yes.
So, and then throughout growing up, I had like what I call destiny helpers, women who just saw something in me and didn't let me go. So when I said something like, I want to go to college, I just don't know how, there were women that said, let me teach you. When I was in a space of like, this is hard, I don't know, but I'm not going to stop. I need help. There were women that said, I'm with you. And so even the person that enrolled me in the transformational work with you both, mm-hmm. right? She's a woman, mm-hmm. a queer identified woman, right? And she saw something in me. And I remember her saying, give yourself your shot. Don't forget about you. And so I come from the background where women cultivate spaces for young women to learn how to thrive. The aspect of Yes Sister Friend is that I say, I'm not going to wait until they're 24, 25. Mm-hmm. I'm going to grab them at 13, 14, 17, 18. Because if they know who they are from then, they know. And we can keep shining the light on, like what we say, the diamond, their authentic self, their powerful self. And if we teach them also interpersonal skills, like how to ground themselves, right? Mm-hmm. When anxiety or depression is hitting them, or pressure, right. How to also learn how to effectively communicate within them, not only internally, but also like outwardly, family and community. Then these skills are going to lead them to being in a better space, meaning that they can thrive, not survive, thrive. And so I had these spaces, I'll give a shout out to my sorority, right? Gamma Psi Epsilon Sorority Incorporated. It was a all Latin-based, culturally based sorority. They taught me stay in school, right? For sisterhood. So I'll say this. At Yes Sister Friend, young women get the space to cultivate sisterhood, They increase their interpersonal skills, their leadership skills, their self-esteem, right? Because if you know who you are, then you can work this world stronger, more confident. They also learn how to like ask for resources, right?
Oh, wow. That's.
Right? So it's like, because what happens, Kathy, what happens is that in this world, and happens, right? Because even me, I'm a middle school counselor, right? Like, I see it all the time. We ask young people to meet a goal. Hey, get better grades. Hey, do better. Behave. But we don't sit down to talk about how to get there. So what Yes Sister Friend does is that we cultivate these programs to say, one, will teach you, two, will role model, and three, will practice. We are community based, right? Right now, volunteer funded. I feel like I have 3 jobs.
I'm sure. And let me just say, what you're doing is so important right now. I mean, particularly right now, the amount of pressure on young people and the statistics. I said something to my friends the other day that I just heard on, I think it was on NPR, and they were saying children I think it was teens maybe they were talking about, and they said 1 in 4 says that they are persistently depressed. 1 in 5 has thought about suicide.
Yeah.
This is a new study they just did, and I was shocked. Like that, those are crazy statistics.
And in this nation, specifically in this nation, North American nation, it just keeps getting higher, or it doesn't come down. I am, because I am a counselor. My 9 to 5 is, in the working system. Unfortunately, I deal with it all the time. I deal with. I know what I'm up against. Like I know that my interruption in this world is to bring light to the darkness, right? Like when they feel dark, when they feel like they can't understand what's happening or they can't overcome. A lot of my work is, 1, bringing out their strengths, right? 2, creating the community that they're going to need to lift them up.
Yes.
And really nurture them. And then 3, like create vision. And I think that's where this ties into like the work that you both do, right?
Yeah.
I was very clear that I was always going to do this type of work that I do now.
Right.
But I was coming from a space when I was 25 or 26 that people would win, but I don't win. And that's where this shift happened, because I said, well, I have to win for them to win, right? And, it's like, I've heard you say, Kathy, numerous times, because I say so. and that's like, I say it all the time with my son's well-being and with mine and with young people, because I say so. They're going to be well. And I do know that that's what we're up against. We're up against the high levels of anxiety. Think about it. If us adults do not know how to even sometimes identify what anxiety or even loneliness is a killer.
Yeah.
Stress and loneliness really brings up the level of dis-ease in the body. Imagine a 12, 13, 14-year-old that does not have vocabulary, right? That perhaps may not even know what's going on. And so then society is hitting them with a lot of social media, peer pressures. And then they have pressure at school, they don't meet. And they end up feeling defeated over and over again.
Yeah,
and
with social media today, it is so bad. With all the, the influencers and everybody it's just terrible.
Yeah. And here's what I'll say about also Yes Sister Friend, right? I'm clear that I'm giving also an alternative to a space to language that they might not get. So for instance, I know in social media, there's certain categories, right? There's the artist, there's the model, there's just different types of categories, right? And that's okay if you choose that. But what our young, and I'll speak into young women, is where are they going to learn how to be young women?
Yeah.
Where? And so that's the other part of Yes Sister Friend. We give an alternative, right? For example, every body counts, right? You don't have to look like the the Instagram model. You don't have to look
Right.
like Cardi B. You don't have to act like Cardi B. Know, um, and not to knock it, because that's also like, there's some
Right.
success.
Yeah.
For the majority, that's not it. And the other magical thing that happens in Yes Sister Friend, and this is how it's I know that we're bridging the gap, is that so they don't only work with me. I of course I manage, of course I have oversight on and distinctions around coaching and also clinical, right? But the magic of Yes Sister Friend is that I also vet other women in the community to bring their organic and professional information and expertise, right? So they will meet, for example, when they get an introduction to financial literacy, because I'm telling you, a 14-year-old gets to know how to open up a bank account.
They should, yes,
Right?
absolutely.
So our young people,
And why?
Yeah.
and why, right?
Right.
Like,
The
right?
importance of it.
If you get $5, sweetheart, save one. And this is why. Or the 17-year-old that's going into college, let's talk about how to be thoughtful and informative around student loans, around, do you know that there's plenty of money out there for you in scholarships and foundations? And then, but you come from this perspective of being abundant and confident. You're not going, oh, poor me, I need my money, please give me money. It's like, this is who I am. This is what I got to contribute. This is why you get to give me the money.
Very
Right.
cool.
Right? So there's a distinction of like the approach. And so that, for instance, that intro financial literacy, my sorority sister, Black Dominican woman, who has a master's in like finance, she's like a financial advisor, but she's also now a stay-at-home mom of 2, right? And she was feeling a little like low, like, oh, what do I get to do? I'm just a mom. And I was like, no, you're not. Like, you have tons. Come on over, right? And when she came and gave them that workshop, she walked away fulfilled.
Yeah.
Every woman that we vet to come to give, whether it's financial literacy or whether it's interpersonal skills like learning how to have healthy boundaries, if it's even like cultivating fun, right? Like cultivating like talent, learning how to make, soaps and learning about the chakras, every woman that interacts, they always say, thank you for the space they gave me. And that's where that bond comes in.
So, just before you continue real quick, we had a few people who have sent some love. So Riza sent a heart, and Shemaine. We have Armando out there. Hey, if you have any questions or any comments, send them. Oh, there are some. I didn't even see even.
Oh, there they are.
We got David Nervin.
David Nervin's there.
You don't hear anything?
Oh, no.
We hear each other.
Oh, okay.
Can anybody else hear us? We want to make sure people are listening. We have some people out there, but I didn't notice it.
Well, we got people out there, so they must be being able to hear us.
Okay.
So.
Oh, Riza hears us all.
All right, good. Okay, cool.
No feedback. Okay.
No.
For instance, even Yes Sister Friend, right? Our slogan is where sisters learn to become friends and friends become sisters, right? And that's also a distinction. My sister Raiza, who's on, right? We're blood sisters. My God, we're never gonna let each other go. But how do we learn to honor our goddess self, right? With so distinct personalities, distinct goals, and then keep together, right? So we become friends. And then I just want to give her a shout out because she's actually our strategic volunteer manager, right? So she's the one that's like working on our website right now, right? Yay! Also, Tremaine, who is on, he's our board member.
Oh, well,
and,
cool.
Awesome.
since the inception of Yes Sister Friend, and he's
He's
also
come a long way, huh? I
yeah.
saw some posts from him, and I can remember that little kid
That
15 years
Felix,
ago or
remember the
14 years
Felix?
ago.
Oh my God! And this is why I was really excited about doing this, because everywhere I go, I do speak into the what came out of these transformation, like this coaching workshops, right? Like the love and what do I say? The understanding, the knowing that we are capable of creating,
Hmm.
right? We are
Yeah.
capable, and I knew that I was going to bring my tribe,
Yeah.
right? Tremaine is a tribe. There's a question for Alina.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Does she have resources for technology education? Women have a unique role to play in information technology.
Oh, that's true.
So,
And it's yeah, very lacking. One of the things.
so no, I'm yet to know or someone that can give a workshop or introduction to it. We are open to it. I will say that yes, sister friend, Daisa says choosing four. That's right. I will say that when we have our curriculum, like our program, and it's usually a 12-week program, we run for about 2.5 hours each week, and then we give them certain topics, right? That space is usually exclusive to female
Right.
identified, right? So often I'm vetting women to come into the space. But I will say that recently enough, I've been learning to how do I like enroll men, right? To
Yes.
understand the importance of it. So I'm just saying this to David. Should you or someone else that you know, whether it's male or female, I still would want to talk to them, because maybe we can every once in a while do a co-ed, right? Because these girls come with the best friend who's the boy, and sometimes the gay boy that also doesn't have a space, right? Like, so we're like, just come. We just have to be strategic to it. But definitely we need that.
Yes.
So what I was saying about the transformational work is that what you both gave in those spaces, everyone who did, I feel like even everyone who gave back with like the staffing, with like giving back to the community, they all live in a higher level of consciousness, right? Like there is problems, right? There are isms, there is racism, there is these things, right? That really hurt our heart, really puts us in a disadvantage as a humankind. But then these people, including me, are like, well, we're not today. Not today. Right. And this is where I come in with like the yes sister friend perspective of like, I want to teach these young girls that yes, were you born woman? Will you have trials and tribulations just behind that in this nation and in this world? Probably. But what we're gonna do is you understand so much of your strength that you have. And there's many sister friends around too, they're gonna hold you down so you can thrive. So there's a distinction of like, instead of being like, oh my God, this is happening to me, how do you get to these girls to a point of like, it's happening? How do I get to manage?
I think this could be a great concept for boys, teens.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to get some, I don't know how to say it other than some different mindsets around how
Being
we
a
are
man.
and who they are in relationship to women.
Yes.
Them too. Them
What
too.
that
They're,
means. Yeah. What
Them
Or
that
too.
just who
are
it is to
missing.
be a man in the world.
Yeah.
That there's so much of that has changed over the last 20 years. That kind of rite of passage as you start to develop and you learn, from either your father or brother or other
Right.
men, a lot of that's changed.
That's changed. They also get to know. I often, even when I work with the young boys here, I'll say this much: Michael might be the first brother friend ever, right? Michael's always like, "When are we gonna start brother friend?" Yes, brother friend. I'm like, let me talk to your principal. Let's see if we start a group of boys, right?
Yes.
And although I do also respect the spaces of co-ed and gender neutrality that's happening in this world, I also do think that there is a unique power in
Yes.
in not centralizing, that's not the word, in girls go with women, boys go with men, right? And there is distinct things. There are distinct things that um, because you live different in different shoes, right?
Yeah.
You live different things. And the same way that that girl, we get to talk about like their puberty in her perspective, boys get to talk about that. One thing
Yes.
that I see here with young people nowadays is like you see when the boys attempting to struggle to figure out like how do I keep to my own empathy that's coming
Right.
naturally, but the
Hmm.
world is telling him if you're empathetic or you're too nice to a
Right. How
girl,
do I be a strong man
then
and be
you're a
empathetic?
wuss.
Yes.
As opposed to being like, well, this is what a gentleman looks like.
Yes.
This is what a
Yes.
giving man looks like. This is what strength really looks like,
And
right?
vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's okay to also cry. God forbid, right? And so then you see those are the clashes that happen constantly, right? Because you the same way I could be talking about the 13-year-old little girl, that the 13-year-old boy is surrounding her as well, saying, "Well, I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know what's going on with me."
Yeah. Hmm.
So I do believe that there is space for all of it. I just specifically say, hey, if I got 5 hours a week, I give it specifically to women because I can step in. But
Right.
I definitely do believe that it takes a community to really expand that young person. And yeah, like I'll say the other thing about your sister friend that's like magical. I know that I need to bring different perspectives and different women, right? With different texture of hair, skin tone, even ethnicity, right? Although we do specialize in young girls of colors importance and issues, every woman is welcome because I know that they're not all girls are going to relate to my cadence or to like my mannerism, but that other woman that I bring in, um, Tremaine says Michael has already declared yes, brother friend. He has. He has. um, that other woman is going to bring in what her perspective, right? Like, and I go back to even organic, right? This is organic, right? Like we're moms, we're sisters, we're cousins.
Here's a question
Huh?
from David Nerman. As a man, what can I do to raise women's voices?
The first thing I will always say is be with the women around you, connect to them, especially the young girls, right? Like be like practice being like seeing them, listening to them, just being with them. That's the first, right? Because many of our young people feel very unseen,
Yeah.
right? So that's the first thing. And yes, young girls will feel very much like bypassed by men at times, right? And whether it's perceived or whether it really happened, but that happens. The second thing is wherever you can, you cheerlead women everywhere you go, right? It doesn't take away from your space. You know, I just had I think it was a wonderful experience. A gentleman who's like my friend, right? Like I think it's just that he saw the work that I'm doing, right? And where my marketing or my advertisement of fundraising has been, hey, would you sponsor a girl at $300 and be a godmother, a madrina? So my language is only female, right? I'm targeting only women. This gentleman came, name is Antonio, came and said, well, I'm going to sponsor at a godfather level. And to me, I'm like, I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, why
Yeah.
not? And so he understands that he can't be in those 2 hours with us, but he understood, hey, this money is going to sponsor one girl. He's actually going to sponsor our youth mentor, right? That's going to be her stipend money for doing about 100 hours with us
That's
altogether.
Very
Um,
cool.
and and
How,
uh,
how can other people contribute or be involved? What do you need? How can people support?
so any resources is welcome. So what does that mean? Of course, money is always appreciated. Why? Because not yet. We're not yet. We don't have like we're not fully we don't have like a grant foundation just yet that keeps staffing us. Right? We are all volunteer. So all the money that we receive, whether it's $5 or $500 or $4,000, whatever it is, goes directly to the girls. Um, and so they can definitely donate towards our Venmo or our Zelle. That's the easiest, right? The second thing is cheerlead your sister friend wherever you can, whenever you can, whether you meet a young person or their mom or their social worker or their teacher, and you just hear the need for them to have these safe and brave spaces, tap us in, right? The
Well,
third
that was my other question: is how do girls find you?
word of mouth. And again, I've been a social worker for the last 19 years of my life.
Right.
So
Okay.
I have a network of teachers, social workers, counselors that I send this out to, and then they recruit their
Right.
population. So, but
Right.
mostly word of mouth. And then it's again like David, right? Like David, if you know a 14-year-old that would benefit, or you think that she would rock out with us, send her over, and then she gets enrolled, right? And when a girl enrolls in your sister friend, the reason why we say a $300 sponsorship is because when she completes the program, she gets a $250 stipend. And it's because at Yes Sister Friend, we believe that we get to invest time and money. Because those are the two things that are very tangible in some ways in like how we interchange, if you will, value and worth in some kind. It's teaching them that when you take the opportunity to invest time and money in you, we're giving you this stipend as an incentive and also like as a reward. That's why we have them open up bank accounts, right? Um, and then the other $50 for now, that pays for like the postage that I'm sending these girls, because a lot of these girls are throughout the nation, right?
Right.
We are doing this right now through Zoom. We're hoping to start then when there's pockets of big pockets of girls throughout different cities, then I am to find people to support and doing face-to-face workshops.
That's
But
great.
for right now it's Zoom. So I send out like the journals, the supplies to like when they do the soaps and when they do for instance, this cohort is going to get a workshop around art therapy, right? Like expression with art. So I'm buying the materials to send it to them. So that's where the money goes. And our staff again, it's all volunteer. Like I get paid in many different ways. The universe gives me back. You know? For now.
Real quick, you're on your slide here. I realize your cell phone number seems incorrect. It's missing a number.
Oh, it's 265. 929-265.
I'm going to put that in the comments.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And so then men can also just cheerlead us on, and then when you yourself have a resource, right? We can create the space that perhaps like David asked about the technology. If there's coding, if there's, I don't know, right? But you're bringing an awareness to me. We can create spaces for the girls, right? And we just have to figure out how to get it done. But we're always welcoming that, right? Like for instance, they get to hear from men around what does it look like to have like a balanced relationship, right? What do they expect? What do they get to expect from a loving young man to talk to? How do they get talked to, right? Or treated,
right? Because some girls have never had that, right? They have no example of that in their life, right? Either they don't have a father in their life, or their father is not someone who
may not be a role model, or right now for whatever reason the capacity isn't there in the giving or the empowerment that they need. Like for instance,
young women to have an example of that. Okay, this is how a real man acts. Right, with a woman.
Tremaine knows that when we shut it down in our Zooms, he's not to come in, right? But Tremaine is a board member. So how does he give his time? He's our secretary. He also cultivates his community to fundraise for us. He's also looking for resources for us, right? Right now, we have she was a madrina, so she's sponsored twice in a row, and then she's also a grant writer, right? So that's something I need. So in her volunteer time, me and her are starting to work to see how she can help me write grants to up level Yes Sister Friend. So I would have never known Lisa Carter, that's her name, Lisa Carter, if it wasn't for Tremaine, right? So that's how men help, right?
Yes.
If you may not have it, I know you know not only girls, but you know some real powerful, smart women out there, and then that's how we connect.
Right.
And again, I'll speak into that we're coming from a space of creating space because there's many spaces out there, but this is distinct around creating safe and brave, right? So when I mean that, what I mean about that is that one, we create safe, meaning that in their body, mind, and soul, they are going to be able to be met with the security of being able to process things and then but be well.
Yeah.
Maybe not comfortable, but be well, right? The second thing, brave, is we push them. We push them, right? Coming back to these transformational work, one of the things I learned, getting coached and coaching, right? I always tell the young girls, I want the lions to become mice and the mice to become lions. So we start dibbling and dabbling around like, what does this young girl really need, right?
Yeah.
And what tends to happen is that we start from the very beginning. I talk a lot, right? But by the middle of this curriculum, I back off, and they start. Who's going to facilitate? We do mindful exercises every time we have a meeting. We teach these girls one mindful exercise. By the end of that curriculum, the girls themselves are asking for two things. One, they want their sisterhood time. We call it chisme time, right? They get like a good 20 to 30 minutes just to hang out and be together. And that's where they cultivate, like they really become sisters. Like it's amazing to see. And then they also ask for, can I lead the breathing exercise? Can I lead the sensory exercise? It's going to help us to calm down. When one of their participants, their sister friends, checks in, and you can see that she's either crying or she's upset. One of them steps in and says, Miss Serrano, I think we need to do like box breathing right now for her. So I'm like, go ahead. And here they go, start giving to each other, right? So it's the level of community that they're not getting on Instagram. They're not getting this on Snapchat. They're not getting this. And of course, they get supervised in many ways because I'm there, right? Like there's just a level of boundaries that we keep. We teach them like how do you speak into like when you are hurt, right? How do you communicate the hurt so then your sister friend could learn how to hear it, and then how do we mend this?
Right.
And so if we go from internal to like us, sometimes we go into family members that gets a little like, you see me saying the disclaimer all the time, Kathy and Ken. I'm always like, what your mom says goes. If your daddy said, listen to me, let's see how we can enroll them.
Yes.
For what you're saying, but what your mom says goes. And then we also do work around like, there's some 17-year-olds, like I said, they're about to go to college. They get to write their resume. They get to practice presentation. So sometimes, even though we have those 2-hour sessions, myself and staff, like we have a volunteer manager. Her name is Myra. Myself and Myra will stay behind to coach and to mentor, right? And that's where I think my next level of I really put it out there in the universe that I'll get the resources, money and staff wise, to really like launch this in a way that we can do this on a full-time level, because that's where the knit and grit is at, right? We have those 2 hours, but it's a lot of the texting back and forth, calling moms sometimes, figuring out how to build this young girl from 1 week to the next week. Sometimes it's so exhausting, but it's so worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of doing the teen trainings, except the thing that's so different is you're with them for a long haul. I see them for 3 days and watch that transformation and don't get to see it. And we don't have the time in a 2.5 day workshop to deal with all the issues that you get to really support them with.
Yeah.
Each week, things like you were just saying, resumes and how to present yourself and just all that kind of stuff. So it's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Sometimes we're the need to write a letter to your mom and to read it to your mom, right? Comes
Yeah.
up, right? So it's
Oh.
like,
You wanted me to play a testimonial.
yes, please, please, please.
You want to go ahead and do that real quick?
Yeah, this is wonderful Sabrina Joseph, 16-year-old from Miami, Florida. She did the cohort last year. She'll be one of our youth mentors this year.
Hang on, I got to make sure I got the volume turned on this one. I muted it because I think it was causing some.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Joseph, and I am a current senior attending the School for Advanced Studies Wolfson campus here in Miami, Florida, and I was part of the spring 2022 cohort. And something that I've learned through this program was the value of friendship, sisterhood, connection, and the importance of lifting each other up and like being the wing women. Before taking part in the YSF program with my cohort, I was actually quite reserved, which is like a number one reason why I chose to join. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't understand how, because whenever we had our little meetings, the real me was always able to shine through, and there was never really a moment where I felt held back. And after the program, the connections that were formed through the short few weeks of the program have not gone in vain, because immediately during the final minutes of the last session, I remember this so clearly. We were already in the works of creating our own group chat, and we exchanged socials and kept in touch with each other. It was something that I didn't really know was missing from my life. Just having that group of supportive and motivating females who are always just going to push amazing words and energy towards your direction. And even if it was through a screen, the impact was still there and it was lasting. Well, is lasting. We even had a little theme song, if you would call it. It was Masterpiece by Jessie J. It basically speaks upon how we are not perfect, but we are working on ourselves to be the version of us that we can be. Exploring what brings out our individuality and expresses our uniqueness. And something that I do want to spotlight is the fact that we were varied in ages, and I came to appreciate this subtle factor of the program because it makes you realize that age doesn't really matter. Being part of this high school group, it felt like we were the older sisters in a way. We would be there sharing our experiences and giving advice to the middle school group. And yes, they were a few years younger, but I can say for me at least that it really allowed me to relive some of those moments, and it helped me realize the key milestones of someone's character. And from the younger members, I learned to embrace the simple things and not to key into the stress of being a now senior. I learned that there are more things in life, and I cannot keep honing in on this one stressor and allowing it to dictate what I spend my day on. And I especially liked when we had the little calming exercises where we would practice new skills to calm ourselves down in situations of stress, which my favorite one was the touch meditation, because I'm a tactile person, and I like fidgeting a lot. I like moving around a lot, and so that really helped me focus, and I continue to still use it this day. And finally, I wanted to note how my cohort had a little thing of making quotes out of anything said by any of the members, which was like very inspirational. And with that being said, I will end off with the quote that I will never forget, which was actually said by Miss Alina: "We don't survive, we thrive." Thank you for listening to me.
Oh. Okay. Okay, am I still muted?
No, not anymore.
Okay. I was just saying, what an amazing young woman. Really, really amazing. So well spoken and seems so confident in herself and relaxed and just amazing, amazing.
She completed 17 applications for universities. This girl, she's a force to be reckoned with, and herself and two others, even in different workshops, like you can see how they cheerlead each other on. Like one goes in and they start talking, the other one's like, and that's what I mean about the cultivating of sisterhood, like sister friends, right? They didn't know each other, but now as they continue to finish high school and they go to college, hopefully even when they go, to start their lives, they can say, I have this sister friend in Florida, I have this sister friend in New York, I have this sister friend in Texas, I have this sister friend in Massachusetts, and they can just start. And then what I wanted to for her,
think about how that opens up the world for them too, right? Because it's not just, I have my little friends in high school. In my school, I have friends in New York, and I have friends all over.
If you think about it too, in those that may not go on to university, they're having some of that experience of connecting with people all around.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're in the university and there's people coming from different states or even different countries, and you have that experience of being with them. And if you aren't somebody that goes on to a university, you might not have that when you stay in your own town, and that it just opens up a possibility of that kind of culture.
Yeah. And they are used to already, like the Zooms and the internet thing. What happens here is that there's no space to hide, right? So even the one that comes to grow and like learning to like how to manage stress or anxiety, that comes out, and then we all go in. So I will facilitate something, or Christy will come and facilitate something, but they will always walk away with some sort of resource.
Yeah.
And then they start having, like she said, they have each other, right?
Which is such a key resource right now. And these days it's really difficult for people to build communities, right? We just don't have the places that we used to have that we built communities. And so I think it's just such a wonderful thing you're doing, having this space for young women to really explore themselves and connect with who they really are, right? I think about, oh my goodness, that how far these young women are going to go, given this kind of foundation that you're giving them.
Right. We do. I'll say the way we check in every time is an exercise where it comes back around my distinction around declaring, right? The power of declaring and saying who you are. So this exercise, which I get from a sister friends organization called Soha in Chicago, it's they identify like the gunk of the week, like what did the world tell you were, or what irritated you, and then towards the ending of the check-in, they're declaring themselves as who they really are, and from there we kick off every day to say, okay, from this space now let's get some work done. So again, like they cultivate sisterhood. I think that's like the biggest magical. The women that come to support the space, they walk away wanting more, right? They're like, oh my God.
And how do women that want to support you in that way, how do you find them? How do they find you? What are the possibilities there?
Same thing, word of mouth, because of the networking. There's always the cheerleading of IG, Facebook. Our website is going up in I hope in the next 2 weeks we'll have a formal website up. And what happens is that people just start talking, saying, well, have you heard of this? And again, where I can lend my space, right? Like for this work in between work hours or outside of work hours, it just keeps growing. So women could always contact us, whether they want to just be with us, or they want to provide some sort of skill, what I do ask is two things. One, any facilitator, anyone who comes to our space, they get to honor and respect all human beings, right? So they get to be open around specifically trans girls and non-binary identified girls. That's one, right? So in my boundary or my set, you get to be a safe person to this human being. Right. The second thing is whether you're black, brown, white, you do get to step into the space of locating yourself as opposed to in connection to the girls. So if the girls are talking about something around like their real life experience as a black or brown girl, that's about them. You support them on that. So those are the two main things I say. You can do that. We want you here. Come and bring your love. Come and bring your skill, whether it's organic or professional academic, because I that's another space. That's another distinction. You don't have to be a professional,
right,
to know how to be woman and be with young girls.
So you got a big question there.
Yeah.
What's your vision for Sister Friend for the next 5 years?
Oh, he knows this. My vision is that we become international, right? That's the first one. 2, we go from giving space to 20 girls at a time to 100 girls at a time. We have a fully staffed, fully paid. I want to be the CEO of Yes Sister Faith, Yes Friend, full time, and that we are a 7-figure budgeted running machine within the 5 years. Because what ultimately I think Yes Sister Friend will be, because this is what I saw in these transformation works, right, is I want to create like pop-up wellness centers for women. So eventually it'll just become this big, they will have programming for women, programming for young women, and then we'll just expand. So in the next 5 years, we build our infrastructure so we can hit more girls, like intervene, right? Give intervention to a bigger scale, on a bigger scale, and that we can staff at least 4 to 5 people, myself included, a program manager, youth mentors, and at least another counselor. So that's like the vision, that we start rolling as a more of a formal, fully staffed, because then our capacity will grow. And we might become international if I get my way this curriculum. We may have some participants from Sierra Leone. So
very exciting.
We're really international.
Wow.
It happens. We're working. I get to have a meeting at 8:30 tonight.
Here's a little seed, and we can talk about this later.
Yeah.
Teen training.
Yes.
Online. I've been talking with somebody about it because there's some things that we have to work through, but given you're having a lot more experience with teens than I am online, we ought to put our heads together.
Yes.
And make a difference for them.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready to cultivate that and create that. And there are teens.
Great question, Tremaine.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, so most of your funding right now comes from private donors.
All of it comes from community based. All of it. Until, it's the game that we play. Because formerly we're a young nonprofit. It's the politics that gets played. It just comes with the game.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that's probably, I'm just imagining that's probably your biggest area of concern, of work, of
yeah, I get
to doing that. Yeah,
I get to work with a grant writer to see how that happens. We put it out there, we do the work, and we see what happens, because in order for us to grow in capacity, we do need full-time staff, including me, right? Like I'm doing this in between work, and it's okay. But imagine if I can do this from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and it's just
would be changing the world. Well, so I just want to say this to anyone who is out there watching now, or maybe who will watch later at some point in time. You know, if you are at all moved, really, it's so important. Contribute to this organization. It is an amazing, amazing organization that really supports young women. And if you really want to make a difference, this is a great way to do it. So if you're at all moved or inspired, please donate. We want to see this thing just blow up.
You know, Alina, I am inspired by you and you continuing to, to stand for, others. And it's really been an honor to, have you here this week and
thank you.
get to watch and what we might create together too.
Yeah.
I'm for it because I'm for it. Let's just go.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for having us. Having Yes Sister Friend. Thank you for giving us this platform. And again, Vanny says so many thank yous back then in 2008, and even just recently. Thank you for the space of me receiving the coaching and the processes and what I need in order to really expand out.
Oh, thank you. It's our honor.
Yeah.
David says, have you reached out to AOC yet?
What's AOC?
AOC,
Andrea
it's who?
Ocasio-Cortez.
Ah.
The Congresswoman? Yeah.
No, but I should.
I don't know what her name is.
You
should.
Yeah, Ocasio.
Thanks, Tremaine.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Thanks for joining us. I want to thank everybody for joining us this week as we start to work with graduates and talk to graduates about some of the difference that they're making in the world. And really excited that we had you as our first one.
Yay!
Alina.
Thank you.
You know, the video will be on a number of pages and places, so anybody out there that sees it or watches it later, please, reshare it so other people can find out about, Yes Sister Friend and the work that they're up to.
Yeah, and partnership with them and make a big difference for these young girls.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
We're going to say goodnight, everybody. Join us next week. Same time, same place. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Bye.